So I am about 10 minutes away from popping out the house, and I decided I really need to sit down and film this video because I've been meaning to film this for, I don't know, since early 2018, and it's an important topic, and I just kind of let it slide by the side for some reason. But it's been bothering me more and more lately, and I know not just me as well, but hosts of other hamster care channels I know have been ranting a bit about this as well. And there just seems to have been an increase of people talking about this. I'm not sure why. I've noticed my comment section, I've had at least a couple of comments just this week alone talking about this and spreading this myth and misconception that we're dispelling today. And yeah, it's really concerning to me, so I just wanted to sit down and get this video out. So it's not going to be super highly professional, but it needs to be done. So the topic at hand today relates to wet tail, which if you don't know about wet tail and you have a hamster, you really should know about wet tail. I have an entire video talking about it, talking about the symptoms, what to watch out for, how to reduce the risk. It's not an extremely common illness, but it is a very, very serious one. All hamster owners should be aware of it, because if your hamster does develop wet tail, they need immediate medical treatment if they are to stand a chance of surviving. It's a very deadly disease. The reason this has become an issue, especially lately, is because there is this strange misconception. Well, I suppose it's not a strange misconception, but there's this misconception that people have that wet tail is caused by the hamster themselves getting wet or having water dripped on them, or standing in their water bowl, or their water bottle drops a drop on their head or something like that. And I've seen so many comments from people saying, oh, my hamster got a little bit of water on them, are they going to get wet tail, are they going to die? All of these concerns based around the misconception that water is the cause of wet tail. I can see where the misconception comes from. Part of it is going to be from just the name of the illness itself, wet tail. People hear wet, people think water, make that connection, when in fact the reason it's called wet tail, that's not its proper scientific name, that's just the common name for it. The reason we call it that is because the main symptom of wet tail is extreme diarrhea, which of course would cause a wet tail. Not wet with water, but liquid poo. But the other thing that fuels this misconception is because most often you hear wet tail being referenced, you hear about the risks of wet tail when people are talking about water bathing. Now, if you know anything about hamsters, you will know that water bathing is terrible. You absolutely never bathe your hamster in water. There may be very rare circumstances where for a medical reason you might need to do it, but that would only be if advised by a vet who knows hamsters quite well, and there is a specific medical reason for it. But just bathing your hamsters in water is not something you do. It's incredibly harmful. It's bad for their fur, it's bad for their skin, it's bad for their natural oils, it doesn't get them clean, and it also causes them a great deal of stress. Now, like most animals, when hamsters become stressed, this causes changes to happen within their body. They can suffer from psychological changes, they can suffer from changes to the bacteria in their gut. This is relevant to this particular topic. And one of the big changes is that their immune system can become weaker. Now, the immune system is the body's first line of defense against all sorts of nasty things, nasty bacteria, illnesses, diseases, lots of things that you'll come into contact with. Your immune system will fight off, not all of it, but a lot of it, and will help to keep you healthier. But when the immune system is weakened, it has a much harder time fighting off all those nasty things, and so there is a much higher chance that the body will become sick. So if you bathe a hamster in water, not only are you doing a lot of damage to the outside of their body, but water bathing also causes them a lot of stress, which means you're doing a lot of damage to the inside of their body as well. And it's the stress that they suffer from being bathed in water that causes their immune system to become weaker and causes the bacteria in their gut to change, which puts them at risk of developing wet tail. So it's not the water itself that can lead to a hamster developing wet tail, but it's the stress that they face from being bathed in water. And that is why if your hamster just stands in their water bowl or gets dripped on by their water bottle, yes, this is still an issue for their fur, it's still an issue for the oils in their fur. It is not going to lead to your hamster developing wet tail because they are not going to be suffering from those high levels of stress that are caused by water bathing. Hopefully I've managed to make that all make sense. I'm normally working with a script and I don't have one today because this was a last minute just sit down and film it kind of thing. But just to summarize everything that I've said, first of all, wet tail is called wet tail not because it's related to water, but because the main symptom is extreme diarrhea, causing the tail to appear wet. And while bathing a hamster in water significantly increases the risk of them developing wet tail, it is not because of the water itself, it is because of the stress caused by water bathing. It is so important for so many reasons that you do not bathe your hamster in water. They keep themselves clean, you don't need to assist them with that, but if you want to, you can provide them with a sand bath and you can brush them with a little hamster-sized comb. That's all you need to do. But I have a whole video talking about water bathing. I have an entire video talking about wet tail symptoms, all that stuff. I highly recommend you go check that out if you want to know more about it, if you need to know more about it. It's something that every hamster owner should be aware of. Don't let it scare you too much because, like I say, it's not super common and it is fairly easy to avoid as long as you avoid very stressful situations, especially for the very young and the very elderly because they have naturally weaker immune systems anyway. As long as you are cautious and careful and sensible with your pet and treat them with respect, you hopefully won't have to deal with wet tail at any point. And just for extra reassurance, I've had a total of 25 hamsters. I have never had a single one suffer from wet tail, so hopefully that reassures you that it's not as common as some people think it is, but still very important to educate yourself about. And hopefully we will soon start to see an end to this particular myth. In the meantime though, if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. You can also share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, I will be doing kind of a part 2 on this because there's another wet tail related myth I want to talk about in the future. I'll try and do that within the coming weeks if I remember, but just so you know, there's a little more coming on this. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.